Okay, I promised to do some question and answers, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. Are you going to carry a radio? No, I'm not. When you're out in the middle of nowhere, having a radio, whether it's an amateur radio or a GMS radio, just doesn't work. You got to rely on someone else to have the radio turned on. Now, there is a wilderness protocol that says every 3 hours, starting at 7 a.m. for 5 minutes after the hour, you should listen to the radio on I think it's 146.52 UHF, and there's other frequencies. But for the possibility of that being useful, that you might get somebody in range, it's just not worth it. The extra weight of having to charge batteries and do things like that. Did that thing work? Sorry. Okay. It just doesn't make sense to carry the weight to do that. What I do have, though, is a satellite device. I have a Garmin InReach, which is got the ability with an SOS button. I can hit SOS, and it will send an SOS signal through the satellite system to a group, which will then contact the local authorities based on my location and GPS that it provides. It also gives me the ability to text some of my family. Very limited short text. Again, we're using a satellite, and it's they're pre-configured text. You can want to do more than that, it gets more expensive. But I am using the Garmin InReach, and it works for me, so that's what I need. Will you carry a gun? No. Again, a lot of weight. I'm in California here, and there's a lot of laws in California about doing concealed carry or even open carry. You can't do it. Even if you had a concealed carry permit for California, it wouldn't work in Oregon or Washington. So that's not something we want to try. Bear spray. Again, bear spray is not allowed in a lot of the national parks. So again, it's extra weight. It's something we're not going to carry. So I guess that brings me to the thing that, are you concerned about wild animals? Not really, no. There hasn't been any significant reports of anybody being harmed by mountain lions or bears on the Pacific Crest Trail. And then people ask, what about people? Well, I frankly feel safer out in the wilderness with people who are backpacking than I do walking down the middle of a major city in the United States with the way we treat criminals nowadays. So no, I'm not concerned about that. The people out on trail they're a family almost. You take care of each other. They look out for each other. So no, I'm not worried about that. Okay, the other question was, are you going to carry a shovel or a wag bag? Well, there's my shovel. I'll use that to dig a cat hole. Wag bags are something that's not required on the Pacific Crest Trail. They are required on Mount Whitney, and I'm not sure if I'm going to do Whitney yet. It's going to depend on the snow levels, but you do have to have a wag bag there. If you're not familiar with the wag bag, it's a bag full of a powdery substance, and when you add liquid to it, either urine or water, it creates a chemical that helps break down human waste. And so you do your number 2 in the wag bag, and you pack it out, and you dispose of it when you get out of the area that required it. But they are not required on the Pacific Crest Trail, so I will not be using one. Toilet paper, it is required that you pack out toilet paper in the backcountry of the Pacific Crest Trail. People do that. I'm going to be using something called a backwoods bidet, and I'll talk about that more in my equipment, so I don't have to pack stuff out like that. Are you concerned about snow? Moderately, but I'm more concerned about what happens when the snow melts. Whether you're walking on 3 feet, 6 feet, or 30 feet of snow, it's all the same thing. Once it's solidified and your avalanche dangers are past, and those generally only last for a couple of days after a major snowfall, the snow solidifies, and in the morning it's hard and it's very slippery. So you need to have either micro spikes or crampons to walk on, and I have crampons. Come about 11 o'clock, it gets soft as the sun melts it, and you start post-holing. Your feet start dropping down into your knees, sometimes all the way up to your waist. And post-holing is no fun. You need snowshoes to get across situations like that. So the trade-offs are, you get up early in the morning before the sun comes up, and as soon as it's light enough to hike, you start hiking, and then about 11 o'clock you stop, and you wait it out, or you have to have snowshoes, or you just deal with the post holing. So it's going to depend on the situation when we get there, but that's something to deal with. I'm more concerned about river crossings. I'm going early enough that hopefully we'll get through a lot of those before the snow melt gets heavy enough that the river crossings become a problem. But there's things that we can do to mitigate that, and we'll do that as we go through. Are you going alone? Effectively, yes, I am. I'm not going with anybody per se, but 50 people a day start the trail in Mexico from March 1st to May 31st. So that's 4,500 people during that 3-month period that are hiking the trail. In addition, there's a number of people doing it on what you call section hikes, where they do just small sections. And there's also people that come northbound that start in Canada around late June and July and come south to Mexico. So there's a lot of folks out on the trail. That's not a concern. Hang on, I want to look at my question list here so I don't forget something. Well, no, I'm not worried about being on my own. I'll be forming groups of people. You call them your trail families, tramleys. You form people that you get along with, that you hike at the same speed with, and you stick together for a while, maybe a week, it may be multiple weeks, but people do that. It's not a problem. Do you get to town every night? No, you do not. Typically, you get to town every 2, 3, 4 days. I think the longest one could be 7 days. Depends on the snow situation in the Sierras. It could be longer. So we carry our food with us. We carry a tent with us. We don't go to town to sleep, and unless we get lucky enough that we're in town, we may hit a town park, and on occasionally, depending on the weather and the situation, you may even find a hostel or a small motel just to crash in for the night, particularly if there's really bad weather situations. So I told you about the food. The other question is, how do you get water? Well, for the most part, we filter water. We find a stream, we find a river, and we filter the water. And I'll talk about that in my equipment list as well. Okay. I think that's all the questions that I had. If you guys have any others, feel free to add them in the comments, and I'll try to get to them when I get a chance. And I do hope to get an equipment video posted here in the next few weeks. And I will be posting trail videos as soon as I get them edited. Now realize I'm on the trail. I'm in the middle of nowhere. I have no cell service for the most part. So I can edit. I'm editing all my videos on my cell phone. When I get them ready, I have to go into town and find some kind of internet connection to upload them. So, and they will be delayed. They'll be delayed several weeks in most cases. They're not going to be something that's done the next day. This doesn't happen that way. Most of the time we're hiking, you know, from early morning to late afternoon, and when you get to camp, you're going to get your food ready. You're going to set up your tent, and typically you're going to be in bed by 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock is called hiker midnight. And typically you're in bed by 9 because you're tired. And you're going to be up probably at the crack of dawn when the sun starts shining on you. So that's the way it goes. All right, I will, hopefully that answers the questions you folks had. Again, if you have more, let me know.